I want to welcome you to this week's episode of the CVC Home Service Success Network. This is brought to you every week by the CVC Success Group. And what we try to do is share ideas, concepts, processes, different things that you, as the manager of a home service business, can utilize to move you further and further along the path that you've set up, the strategic plan to put it all together. We try to bring you ideas, different speakers, different guests, and hopefully today's episode will give you something to think about. Because today we're going to talk about something called onboarding. Onboarding, because this is likely one of the leading failures in so many home service businesses. We don't onboard, we don't put our people through training. We expect them to just learn by osmosis. Hey, just get on the truck with Joe, go out with Joe. Joe will teach you everything he knows. And guess what? Failure is what occurs. Then we have to start fixing the people, and it's really hard to fix people once they have habits ingrained. But the first thing we got to do is we got to hire the right people before we start to onboard. So for that, Cheryl, what's involved in getting the right person? What tells you as an interviewer that this is a person that can be there, that can do the job, that matches the culture? And what in the interview process tells you that this guy ain't going to work out or this gal ain't going to work out for this company? What are the red flags that jump out at you? Because, hey, to onboard them properly, we got to have the right candidate to put through the process. So, what do you see as those red flags?
The biggest red flag to me is somebody looking up over to staring to the side, because I know what they're doing. They're looking for an answer to give me that I want to hear. And if you have to hunt down for an answer to answer a question, then that's my first red flag. The next red flag is, can they stay with me, or are they going off and coming back and not non-attentive? If they're not attentive to me on a Zoom, they're not going to be attentive to someone trying to train them. Number one. The other thing is, if they don't answer the questions, there's certain things that different clients require different things. If they can't do those things and they're not trainable things, then that's a red flag. A lot of the good flags are people that are very attentive. They're answering my questions correctly. They're not correctly to me, but the correctly for the position, whether they have any kind of training, whether they have, for us particularly, most of them are chimney service guys. If they've not worked out in the elements, I don't think it'll ever work for them. So there's just a lot of it's culture, a lot of it's just the natural concepts of what the body can and can't do.
Is there any red flags in the resume they submit that would say, "Hey, this is not somebody worthy of us investing the time, even in the interview"?
21 jobs in 7 years.
Okay, so a lot of it's not changing jobs. Somebody with a history of job changes, they're not going to be a long-term player for you.
That or huge gaps in their resume. There's just people that just can't. You can tell when somebody's just gone through and clicked 15 different companies. They're just wanting to get a thing, and they haven't read it. One of the things I asked, and I'd like to know, is, have you done any due diligence on the company? Well, no, I'm not even sure what they do. Well, if you're not sure what they do, then you don't need to be here.
Got you covered. So, Josh, you were a person that you often shared that interviewing people was not your strong suit, and you actually turned this over to other people. But where you did excel, and I'd actually sit there as you were onboarding new employees. So let's move into the onboarding process. Let's imagine at this point that we have found the perfect candidate. We're ready to invest the time and the funding to train this person. What did you find was the process that worked for onboarding of new people whenever you were managing Magic Broom and Tri-County Energy?
So we had, as you know, a huge SOP trove and intranet and all that. So I would spend just 2 days teaching them how to research and find those policies and things like that, because that was such an important part of what we do. If it's a technician, we had expectations, 30, 60, 90-day expectations of where they're supposed to be. We had a hard skill set. So someone would have to sign off that they, knew this skill. They knew how to, I don't know, let's just say splice a wire, pour a crown, do a splash, things like that. We had them signed into education. Showed them how to get to education, gave them their links. We gave them a business card with all their logins day one. So here's a business card. You keep this, and you keep this on your person, because this is where you're gonna, this is how you're gonna, part of how you're gonna succeed. You're gonna need access to your company email, and a lot of texts just, they would never put the email on their phone or what have you. It's like, well, this is how we're communicating. You need to be up on this.
Yeah. Well, when we had Brandy on our team, and we sure miss her to this day, we did a lot of talking, and we did classes about onboarding. In fact, we have a class on our platform that's called Make the First Day the Most Productive Day of Their Career. And one of the things that Brandy always stressed was that on the first day there, that it was the onboarding process meant that you had to go over and review the systems, the rules, the regulations, and everything else on the very first day. And this eliminates a lot of questions later where you're going over this, and she would have them sign off on these as they went over them. They read them out loud, did those kind of things. Then from that point, we would suggest that they need to go into training. They need to take one of the courses that we have produced for this. Is called Chimneys 101, which basically tells them what a chimney service technician does. But what we've got here is we've got a lot of different roles. I know my friend Josh here, one time I had to tell him, Josh, we can't train somebody to be a chimney sweep, an installer, a gas piper, a gas technician, and all these different things. We got to break this down and come up with a curriculum for them to follow with expectations of what you're going to conquer in the first 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. So Josh, tell us about what that was, where we had it listed down, what the skills that they had to acquire and the time frame we expected these to be conquered.
So I had a huge spreadsheet, and it was, let's just talk about Service Titan. You would need to know just how to estimate that. Like, that was an important skill to make sure that as they progressed into being a lead technician, that their bids were going to be correct. How to create invoices, because if I can hand you my Service Titan account and they could go to someone else's Service Titan account, doesn't mean it's going to bid the same. So they had to learn that. They had to learn how to, fill out an inspection reports and all our different worksheets and survey forms and measurement sheets that we would have. How to invoice, take credit cards. That's just from a software side. On the, again, how to access our company intranet, how to access the drive, how to access the troubleshooting guides, all the technical resources we had available to them. I spent a day with them just going through Google Drive with them and making them search and search and search and find different things for an entire day, because it was such an important part of who we were and what we did.
Yeah. And, right now, you're going through a challenge right now working with a client where they are not bidding certain things, that they've got to start selling and bidding on certain items. So how big a challenge is this to change people years down the road that have years of experience? How difficult is it to get them to buy into these new concepts as you introduce it to them, Josh?
It's very difficult. I'm just trying to push that boulder up the hill just a little bit, like I'm able to use statistics, right? Like we always say, 7 jobs will make you less revenue than 3 jobs. Even though it's a hard mindset of, okay, we know we're going to make X number of dollars sweeping 7 systems today. But I was able to show statistics that show, hey, if we slow down, we're actually going to make more money. If we follow the script, and you're going to make more money. And your script can be something as simple as, hey, we're scanning the chimneys, we're scanning the flues, we're getting on the roofs. It's not just, script is not just what you say to the customer. It's the script is your whole, I'm going to call it the whole play, the whole scene. Everything you do from the time you get there is a play. It's the show. So just making those little pushes, because those guys are entrenched and they're good guys. It's just, hey, showing them, hey, we're the best, and here's why, and this is the things that it's going to take to be the best.
Okay. So Cheryl, let's go back to you. Let's go to some of your expertise also, and that is in behavior assessment, disc assessment that you do with a lot of companies. As you do this, if someone is taking a disc, can you actually predict where they'll be successful and where they will be failures at? I mean, do we have the data that we can actually rely on for this at this point?
We do. We call it benchmark. In the particular disc, it's just your benchmarks of what works best for that particular situation. The thing is, can someone out of a different box still become that person? Yes, because there's adaptives within the disc, but it's a lot harder for them to do it. In other words, if they're benchmarked to be the owner of the company, it's really hard to put them in as a CSR or vice versa. So everything has certain rules. I'll pull one right out of it. If you're looking for a gas tech, you've got to have somebody that's a high S and C to put in as a gas tech. That's a non-given. That's because they need to be slow. They need to be methodical. I mean, they can blow things up. So there's just different things that I look at when I know that an employer is trying to put someone into a particular situation.
Okay. What about sales? Which is the disc profiles is going to become the guy that becomes, or the gal that becomes super successful in sales?
He needs a fairly high, or she, excuse me, gender thing. They need a higher I, and they need a higher C, a high C, but a higher S. They need to be able to have the I to talk. They need to have the S and the C to be able to explain. It's really hard to put a high D person into a complete sale. You can do it, but a lot of times they overtalk their customers too much.
Is the high D too demanding? Is it too dominant of a personality? Does he try to drive people into places they don't want to go?
They don't listen, number one. It's a hard thing for a D to do. I mean, you and I are both hard Ds or high Ds. We both had to learn to listen. Can it be learned? Yes, it can. You're one of the best salesmen I know that's out there, but you had to learn it. And so can it be done? Yes. The thing is, a D can sell it to you, but they more or less scare you into buying it because it's more of a demanding thing. This is what you need.
Okay. But overall, here's the gist. Finding good people is hard. It really is. And if you found a good person, do you want them to be successful? If you do, then you've got to properly onboard this person. And you've got to give them the training in a way that they can understand it. Josh, how important are systems for a person to have to consult? You talk about your SOPs, you talk about your digital program. How important is this to have these things for a map for these people to follow?
Well, failure plan is planning to fail, right? So that is your plan. That is how you set your expectations, how you get everybody to row at the same time in the same direction. You can't have everybody cleaning the chimney a different way, because if someone comes in the next year and that customer says, well, they didn't do that last time, how many times have you heard that? And you're like, well, I was the guy, but it's that uniform, like you go to Jiffy Lube, like you pull into Jiffy Lube, you know what to expect, right? Every single time. It's the same song and dance. You go sit down in the customer lounge, someone comes in and talks to you, shows you that your air filters are dirty, or your wiper blades are beat, or weren't happy, but I can expect that every single time.
Okay. But again, systems, training, curriculum, all these things, time spent in onboarding is going to be time that's going to come back. It's going to be an investment in building these people to be successful, to be a tool of success for you. Cheryl, would you disagree with that?
I agree totally.
So you agree totally. So again, if you like to, like I said, we put courses together on this. Brandy was heavily involved in onboarding, did those kind of things. Josh, what did you learn from Brandy when she was working with you and working with your office staff? What do you remember most about this?
Someone who has a good onboarding experience is more likely to stay. And I wish I had the statistic, but I remember the statistic is stuck in my head. And I'm going to say like 30%, 40% higher chance, and don't hold me to that number, of staying on with the company day one if you have a good onboarding experience.
Got you covered. I understand. So make the decision. Are you tired of people coming to work and they don't produce the results for you? If it's happening, you got to take a look at yourself. Is it because you're making bad hires? Or is it because you're not equipping them with the tools they need, the systems they need, the training they need to be successful? Think about it. Put these ideas to work, and let's move you to where you want to be in this world of business. And with that, I want to thank you for joining us today for a brief episode here. If we can help you here with your systems and your software, whatever, that's what Josh works with, getting your systems together. If we can help you with your hiring, your recruiting, that's where Cheryl works. If we can help you with the training, we can help you with SWAT meetings, whatever it is you need, hey, reach out to us. Let us know. Let's have a conversation. We're CVC Success Group, and we look forward to hearing from you and how we can help you make that journey to your business dreams where you make them your reality. We'll see you next week. Appreciate you taking the time with us today. It's always an honor. It's a